The lanterns of Château Bellegarde in the year 1768, as the Enlightenment's fevered rationalism swept across Europe like a cleansing flame. There remained corners of the continent where reason faltered, where cold logic could not strip away centuries of shadow. Château Bellegarde sat perched upon the cliffs of southern Brittany, its granite towers crowned in black slate and scoured by the sea's salt breath. The local villagers avoided the estate, though no public calamity had occurred there in decades. Whispers of the lanterns kept them at bay lights that burned in the ruined chapel at night, long after the deconsecration, dancing like mournful souls in candlelight processions. I was a man of science then. Dr. Julian Armand, a physician and philosopher trained in the salons of Paris, where superstition was treated as a symptom of ignorance. I had no patience for ghost tales or rustic fears, but grief alters a man's convictions. And the death of my beloved Helene from scarlet fever drove me from my bustling quarters and into the wilderness of Bellegarde, where I might study the body in solitude and perhaps discover new cures. The chateau belonged to my late uncle, a reclusive alchemist whose death the prior winter had gone uninvestigated. The will was explicit. I was to inherit the property with full rights to its contents, including his vast library of pre-revolutionary manuscripts, many of which had been banned. I arrived under a bleak sky. The steward, a sallow man named Mathurin, met me without ceremony. He did not extend his hand. "The estate is yours now," he said flatly. "But beware the lanterns. They wander at night." I smiled thinly. Phosphorescent gas, perhaps decaying organic matter. Mathurin did not respond. That night, the wind howled through Bellegarde's broken shutters. The once grand halls were now hushed, colonized by mildew and silence. I lit the hearth in the study and began cataloguing the alchemical texts. One leather-bound volume, Lux Tenebris, caught my eye, its pages filled with diagrams of the human soul as an energetic form, influenced by light and blood. I scoffed. More mysticism. Yet something in me hesitated to shelve it. At midnight, the scent of old wax and roses crept through the cracks in the door. I looked up. Lantern light flickered in the window. I crossed to the pane and peered out. There, winding along the old garden path, was a procession of figures in tattered vestments, each holding a lantern that burned with a pale blue flame. Their faces were obscured by veils, and their movements were synchronized, as if bound by some unseen melody. My breath fogged the glass. An illusion, exhaustion, perhaps. I had worked without sleep since arriving. I resolved to go to bed, but sleep never came. By morning, the path was undisturbed. I began to explore the chateau. The chapel stood at the edge of the estate, roof partially collapsed, altar overgrown with vines. Above the doorway was etched a Latin phrase, Lumen in aeternum mane. The light remains eternal. Inside, the air was wrong. It pressed on my chest like water, muffling every sound. I felt watched. My pulse quickened. As I turned to leave, I saw faint soot marks on the stone floor footsteps, charred as if burned into the rock. I returned to Lux Tenebris. In its final pages, My uncle had written notes in the margins. They are not spirits of the dead, but echoes of those taken. Light is not safety, but a lure. The lanterns feed on grief. That night they came again. From my window I watched as they passed beneath the oak's lanterns, glowing brighter than before, almost hungry. One figure paused at the base of the tower, its veil fluttering in the breeze. I could see its face, now empty sockets, mouth agape as if mid-scream, yet soundless. Then I heard her voice, Helene. It was her calling from the garden. Impossible. But I ran. I followed the voice to the chapel. The doors were ajar. Inside, the lanterns floated mid-air. No hands held them. No bodies stood beneath. Just light hovering, pulsing, whispering. Helene is with us, they murmured. She walks the hollow halls. My reason cracked. I called out, "Where is she? Show me." A lantern drifted forward. I reached for it. Pain flared across my chest. Visions filled my mind. Memories, Helene, laughing in the kitchen, coughing blood into a handkerchief, dying in my arms. Then others, faces I didn't know. A girl drowning in the well. A priest hanged from the belfry. A boy crushed beneath a falling beam. Each had followed the light. I stumbled backward, gasping. The lanterns dimmed. "You must give us more," they whispered. "More grief, more light." I fled. In the following days, I tried to leave Bellegarde. The roads had collapsed. The forest paths circled endlessly back to the estate. I was trapped. Mathurin had vanished. Each night the lanterns returned. They tapped at windows, whispered in vents, promised salvation if I simply joined them. I let go of logic and embraced the luminous unknown. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I wrote this account in the margins of Lux Tenebris, hoping that someone, someday, might understand. Last night, I saw Helene again. She stood in the chapel, holding a lantern that flickered with blood-red light. She wept. "I didn't want to go alone," she said. "Tonight, I will go to her. I will carry the book. I will see what lies beyond the veil. If you find this, burn the chateau. Burn the lanterns. Do not mourn me. Let the Enlightenment save you from the dark."